Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm UTC President and CEO Rusty Williams, and thank you for joining us today on this edition of the UTC podcast that we call The Intersection, which is brought to you by Anterix and Belden. Now, we call it The Intersection because UTC and its members sit at the intersection of technology and the delivery of reliable and cost-effective utility services. I think most of you that are involved with UTC know that we have an annual conference every year, and we've recently had the conference for 2025. And one of the things that we do each year while we're together at that annual conference is that we elect officers for the upcoming year. That was the case in our recent conference in Long Beach. We continued that tradition and the membership elected the officers for the upcoming 2025-2026 year. Well, today on the Intersection podcast, we'll be talking to two of those officers, Gary Vondrasek of JEA, who's the UTC outgoing board chair and incoming immediate past chair, and we'll also be talking to Tony Suppa of PSEG, who is the incoming board chair for 2025-2026. Gentlemen, it's great to have you here on the podcast today. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having us, Rusty. Great to be here and talking to you.
Yes, thanks, Rusty. Thanks for inviting us. It's great to be here, and it's a privilege to have been elected by the UTC board members as chairman of the board.
Now, all of a sudden, it's real, isn't it, Tony?
Yes, it is.
We've been talking about it for a while, and now it's real.
It's here.
As we go through this episode, we'll talk about some of that a little bit, and maybe Gary can give us some advice as we go through. Well, let's start this way, guys. We all know that people that are serving on UTC that are utility members, they're volunteers, right? They aren't paid to do the job. And oh, by the way, you have a real job back home that you have to do in addition to juggling your responsibilities for UTC. And by the way, I appreciate that. You guys agreeing to do that as well as all the other officers. But let's talk about what you do back home. And in case some of the people that are listening don't know you guys or don't know what you do, I'm going to let you guys tell us what you do in your real job when you are back home. Gary, why don't you start and tell us what you do at JEA?
Okay, thanks, Rusty. So at JEA, well, one, let me explain who JEA is. We're a municipal utility in Jacksonville, Florida. We're, I believe, like the 8th largest municipal utility in the United States. We provide electric, water, and sewer services. We have 5 chilled water plants also. But I manage our telecom group, which includes the 1,000-mile fiber optic network, our wireless networks, and the transport network. In addition, I handle all of our leasing services where we lease communication tower space, wireless co-locations, dark fiber leases, and I also handle our pole attachments.
All right, great. How about you, Tony? When you're not wearing a UTC hat and you're back in New Jersey, what is it you get to do on a day-to-day basis at PSEG?
So, Rusty, I'm an engineer for PSEG, and PSEG stands for Public Service Electric and Gas. We have about 2 million customers, and I manage the third-party attachments on our assets. That includes cell sites on our transmission towers, small cell sites on our wood distribution poles and streetlights, and the new surveillance cameras and license plate readers on our poles, which applications coming in weekly with all the rage and all the grant money coming into law enforcement offices. So that keeps me and my group busy at PSEG.
Yeah, it seems like pole attachments has been an issue we've talked about for as long as I've been involved with UTC, and that's been a long time. And it's even there's new things, as you say, Tony. There's not only attaching cables, but they're attaching a lot of license plate readers and cameras and a lot of other stuff. So it keeps us all busy, keeps us in our real jobs, in your real jobs. This is my real job, but for you guys, your real job, it keeps you busy day in and day out. So thanks for that, and let's kind of talk or twist that a little bit toward UTC, if you will. Being a board officer, then obviously you guys have been involved with UTC for several years. There's no pre-described, experience level or anything that comes along with the territory, but as the membership is selecting officers, they'd like to have people that has got a lot of experience in the industry, but also with the UTC. So let me ask you how you got involved. Tony, I'll start with you this time. How did you get involved with UTC? Did you find out about it? Somebody invite you, or did you just stumble across it? I mean, what did you do to begin with to get involved with the UTC?
Well, I was involved with Rusty. I was involved with a lot of wireless co-location groups in the Northeast. I'm a member of the New Jersey Wireless Association, and I met Michael Cody, who used to run Baltimore Gas and
I
Electric's
remember
third-party
Michael. Yep,
attachments. And I
yep, I
believe
remember him.
I believe Michael was instrumental in setting up the Utilisite committee at UTC. And after meeting Michael, he suggested I attend a Utilisite call. I did, and I liked what I heard. I went to a couple of UTC meetings and then ended up going to the national meeting in Palm Springs. And I found the group very helpful, accommodating, and it led me to want to get more involved, dealing with the likes of Sheila Wells, Ken Hill, Gary, um, Tim Gasser, Alan Bacalar, and really it just gave me a way to help us solve certain problems where only another utility could help you. And I found it very helpful, and I really liked the people I was dealing with.
One of the things we always hear about UTC is the way the members work together. And the industry is a little different. They're not competing with each other, but they're really open and willing to help each other. Gary, how about yourself? I mean, I think you may have a similar story as Tony's, but tell us what got you involved in UTC?
Yeah, thanks, Rusty. So yeah, my story similar to Tony's. I inherited our wireless agreements, our wireless co-location business at JEA, and I was rewriting some of the contracts and trying to understand the business. And in some way, and I don't exactly remember how, I was invited to a special meeting held by Michael Cody at Baltimore Gas and Electric, and it was a non-sanctioned UTC event. UTC, some of the leadership was present, but Utilisite was born out of that. So it was a meeting that brought a number of us utilities. I think there were about 20 of us that came together talking about best practices with wireless co-location. And out of that, the Utilisite committee division was created. And again, it was all due to the need to have conversation about it and best practices. So yeah, kind of unique. Tony and I both kind of came from the same area. I was joking with Tony that we're kind of the Utilisite dynasty here because we know the people behind us upcoming. We're not so much involved in Utilisite, but yeah, it's been great, and it's helped me as far as my professional development with and knowledge as far as all of the regulations regarding pole attachments, wireless co-location. The small cell conversation for a while was very uh, became very legal, ended up in court, like the appellate court. So again, UTC and Utilisite kept me attuned to all of the legal and regulatory aspects of it. In addition, what was the best practices and how to best approach your business and address any questions. So yeah, that's kind of how I got involved. And then in the most recent past, the role expanded, and then all of a sudden some of the other topics that are covered in UTC are very applicable to my day-to-day job. So UTC has provided a vast amount of information and knowledge for me to develop and provide to my company. Again, I just, as I continue to say, UTC is kind of an extension of your own company. Having that membership provides you a whole host of experts to help you with your job.
Yeah, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that with kind of the next question. But before we get into it, we were talking about you guys being officers. There may be people new to UTC that don't know kind of the lower level details. So there's four officers of the board, and you guys are working through that. So there's a chair of the board, a vice chair, a secretary treasurer, and then an immediate past chair. And those are all 1 year terms. But the idea is once you come into the executive committee, the expectation is that you're going to move up through each one of those chairs. So it's a 4 year commitment, right? Once you agree to come. And by the way, you don't have to be drafted. You don't have to be nominated by somebody else. You can nominate yourself. Every year we go through the nomination process. So if anybody was wondering about that, you can self-nominate. Somebody can bring your name up, or it can come from any direction. And you don't have to come through the Utilisite part of the business to be an officer, right? I mean, you can be from any part of the business, whether it was regulatory or technical or wireline or wireless or whatever. We've had them all. And geographically, we've got people scattered around the country. So, I mean, we've got Southeast and Northeast kind of covered here today, but we've got people in Southwest and just different places. The extreme upper Midwest is the current officers. But I want to think about kind of chase what Gary just said. So obviously, if you're making a 4 year commitment to be an officer at UTC, you've got to have a pretty serious conversation with your management about, hey, I'm involved with UTC, but there's an opportunity to move into a leadership role. So how do you have that conversation with your management? I mean, what does UTC do for your company that provides the value that would allow your boss to consider allowing you to do that? So Gary, I'll start with you. When you had that conversation with your management at JEA, what was the feedback and what was the kind of the tone of the conversation you had?
Yeah, so Rusty, again, I'd been involved with UTC and Utilisite from its inception. So that was 20 years ago. And being involved in Utilisite provided all types of information, again, on the legislative matters, regulatory matters, and again, in addition to just being ahead and on top of topics, right? So UTC just really expanded my knowledge, and I always seemed to be the expert whenever asked about anything. Just like I had the answers, and that was because of the Utilisite. So my company already saw the value, I think, because of what it did for me and what I brought to the table after being either on the committee calls or going to the annual conference or those kind of things. But then specifically becoming a board director or being on the board of directors. Because of my involvement, it was kind of an easy thing to bring up to my leadership to say, "Hey, I've been nominated. Now, can I move forward with this?" They were very supportive of it, and actually, our current CEO, Vicky Cavey, I reported to her when I first got involved with Utilisite. So, and I've shared with her my journal cover, and that kind of thing. So, just very proud, and again, our company believes it's just great that we can support the industry and provide that leadership to the industry and be part of it, quite honestly.
Yeah. Tony, how about you? Do you have much difficulty in talking to your management about getting involved as an officer?
Well, PSEG likes good positive news out there, so that helps. And I was already a member of the New Jersey Wireless Association Board of Trustees, and they know I'm very involved with regulatory issues and things like that with wireless co-location. And the other thing is our group is extremely busy at PSE&G with all the co-location work we have. We have a small group, work hard. Most of us work together for years. So going in to sell it to my boss wasn't hard because we're always on top of our game. If I would say if my work was not on top of our game, might be a different conversation.
All right.
But the fact that my boss knows I'm not going to skip a beat, made it easy. I also changed managers in the middle of all this, so my current manager wasn't the manager that I got this approval for, but he's on board now. So yeah, having a great team at work to support you really helps a lot. And also there's other groups at PSE&G that use UTC, not just the wireless co-location group. And having a former chairman of the board here, Jeff Katz, also made it a little easier. We have a trailblazer. So I'm following Jeff's footprints and trying to keep the tradition going here at PSE&G.
Yeah, so we talked about it being a 4 year commitment, to be an officer. And Gary, you're 3 years through your 4 year commitment, and Tony's 2 years through. So let's talk about looking back a little bit. Tony, what do you think is the most surprising part now that you're halfway through your commitment, your term here for all four positions? What's the most surprising part so far of being an officer to you?
I would say two things, Rusty, are the most surprising things to me. One is the support, and I want to say respect, but both from the UTC staff. They are just so supportive, willing to help no matter what we ask, and that goes. That really it really is something I wasn't expecting. And then also getting to see how the sausage is made behind the curtain at these events, these big, large events, and how that staff works miracles. And I can't tell you how impressed I am. Those are probably the two biggest surprises or things that I've seen I had no idea how that staff really works well like that.
Yeah. Isn't that from the movie, the original Wizard of Oz movie? Don't
That's right.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the curtain.
So, Gary, for you, after 3 years, ask a slightly different question. What's the most rewarding part of being an officer? You do a lot, but what's from a personal perspective, what's been the most rewarding for you?
So I think, Rusty, again, it's been an honor, one, to be nominated and then elected and serve as the chair, and be also on the executive committee. So it's been quite the honor and privilege for me, and to represent my company. But as far as rewarding, I mean, again, the professional aspects of it, what it's done for me, the exposure, the again, representing my company at this level is great. But then just the personal development, again, I think I've had a lot of personal growth, attending a lot of the meetings, kind of being the face of UTC a little bit as the chair, in addition to you or standing next to you on the podium. So again, there's all of that, but it's been most rewarding in the fact of just being able to have an impact on this great organization. I mean, we celebrated our 75th anniversary last year or the year before, and again, we're focused on the century mark, right? And I think UTC is just in a great place today. We went through a little hard work last couple of years, and we brought you in, which was a great move. We selected the perfect person for the role, and UTC is just in a great place, and just exciting things ahead. Exciting things ahead.
Well, good deal. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I always tell people when they get involved with UTC, it's not you're not just giving to UTC. That's usually good for the person that's involved. It's good for their company, and it's good for the industry. So we appreciate when people do that. All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Let's get away from the seriousness, and I'm going to ask you 3 or 4 kind of rapid fire questions that have nothing to do with business. Okay, get to know Gary and Tony here a little bit more, and you don't have to elaborate. Just give me the answers. All right, first question. I'll start with Gary. Gary, what kind of phobias do you have? We all have a phobia, right? It could be clowns, it could be heights. Mine is snakes, by the way. What phobia do you have, Gary?
I definitely don't like snakes. Always leery of those. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of clowns either, really, but especially a scary clown. But yeah, I definitely don't like snakes. I'm not. That makes me kind of.
I live by the mantra that snakes make you hurt yourself. You're trying to get away from them. Tony, how about you? Phobia?
I would say claustrophobia.
Ah,
No fear of heights. No, our family history of climbing. My father was a sign erector, sheet metal worker. No problem with heights, but the claustrophobia. And as I've gotten older, it gets worse. Like I can't even watch like a cave rescue on the CNN. I have to turn away. And clowns is right there, number 2, right behind it.
Who knew? Who knew? All right. So if you've had a bad day, Tony, and maybe you were stuck in an elevator and your claustrophobia went haywire, and you got home that evening, what's your go-to comfort food when you just really, really want something that you know is going to be good? What is it?
A bowl of macaroni with gravy and meatballs.
Macaroni, gravy, and meatballs.
Gravy, some people call it sauce. So red.
Yeah. Ragu, whatever. Right. All right. Sweet. I like it. Gary, comfort food.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago after college, started moving around. So my two favorite foods would be either Chicago pizza, not doesn't have to be the thick crust, it can be thin crust. And I also like or love Italian beef sandwiches from Chicago. So that's the two things. If I could pick, I'd eat that.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good deep dish Chicago pizza. I mean, until you have one, you don't know what it is. All right. I don't want you to get too personal here necessarily, but let me ask the next question. What's the one thing that is about you? We'll start, Gary, that people would really find surprising if they were to find out what that thing was. So the one thing that, about Gary that people would go, holy crap, I would have never thought about Gary that way.
Well, so I am extremely proud of my children, and again, I guess I'm the father, but I have six kids, and so I've set of triplets, I have set of twins, and then a single. So that's probably the most unique thing about me, but it's related to my kids, and again, very proud of my children.
So you got a trifecta then, a single, a double, and a triple.
Yeah, and the Brady bunch. So we got three girls, three boys.
If you'd have just tried again, you might have hit for the cycle.
And that's what people say, but that's not possible.
What about you, Tony? What would people find surprising about you?
I don't know, maybe some of my past, like when I was in high school, I had hair down on my shoulders in the 70s. Those days are over.
Yeah.
And when I was 12 years old, my senior year of Little League, I threw a no-hitter against the team that won the championship, and I lost the game 3-2.
Oh man. Yeah, I actually was a high school baseball umpire for many years. So that was the way I stuck around the game. I played it growing up, and I wasn't good enough to play college ball, but that's the way I stuck around it. I was a college umpire. All right, last questions. Last question. Tony, we'll start with you. What if you weren't doing what you're doing in in the telecom utility business? What do you think you would be doing?
Probably a graphic artist or an artist, something in the art world, something of that nature. Yeah.
All right, Gary, what about you?
Maybe a couple things. Maybe police officer, firefighter, but I also love being in the woods. So I can see like forest ranger or something like that. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right, sweet, sweet. All right, we're getting toward the end here. So let me kind of get melancholy or philosophical here for just a moment. So Gary, you're going to get you have at the recent conference kind of handed the gavel over to Tony as he took over to begin his year as the board chair. When you look back at your year, what words of wisdom do you have for Tony as he's starting his year of service as the board chair?
Well, I think one, this association of ours is member driven, right? So I think you leverage the members, be it utility or our associate members, and then the staff. And in that recipe, I think is the winning recipe because we UTC, it's a second family, and there are so many good, genuine people here that participate in UTC that and they have a true desire for the organization to be successful. So I think if you leverage those folks and mix all them together, we got good things ahead.
Yeah. So Tony, as you think about your year ahead, kind of, philosophically, what would you like to accomplish or kind of what, as you go into the year, what do you kind of envision? I didn't give you a heads up about that question, but
That's okay.
think about that, about what you want to do as you look forward.
I want to keep the organization going in the same direction Kurt and Gary have kept it going for the last 2 years and keep it positive, especially building on the momentum of last week's conference in Long Beach. And one of the great things that happened was during that week, pretty much all the former chairs came up to me and gave me a couple of minutes of what they thought, how things were going to be. It's going to go fast. You need to do this. You have my support. And that really was a big confidence booster. So I want to keep the organization going strong. Like Gary said, rely on and leverage our members, especially some of the past chairs that have a lot of experience, and get it ready for next year's chair. And even though I just started, but I'm really looking forward to it and the challenge and again keeping the organization going in the right direction as you have done for the past 18 months, Rusty. You really righted the ship, and
Well, I
we want to make sure
appreciate
we
that.
follow suit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the only and you heard it from some of the others. Oh, by the way, there were 11 past chairs at the conference. All right, and to me that says a lot. All right, they want to be
Mhm.
involved. They still see the value. It wasn't just a something to check a box or something to get some notoriety. It's something they really believe in. So I think that's a big sign of the value that UTC brings. The other advice you heard last week from some of those guys, you're going to turn around twice and the year is going to be over. Right. So, take advantage of it, as best you can, and get involved with as much as you can and kind of, take it for what it is. Right. It's a great opportunity, but it's also an honor, as you said. And speaking of that, I'm going to say, being in my chair now again for 18 months, having been in your chairs, several years ago, it's a little different picture, but you're looking at the same thing. It's a great organization, great leadership from the volunteer side, from the membership side, and it's an honor for me to be sitting in this chair to work with you guys and the other officers on the executive committee. So, Gary, I'm going to, publicly here say thanks for what you've done over the last year, the last 3 years, but specifically over the last year, and leading us through these times. And Tony, look forward to working with you in that position and look forward to a year where we're going to continue to build on the momentum, but build on the foundation that we've done over the last 18 months. So thanks to both of you for what you do, for being involved with UTC, but being willing to be in a leadership role. So thanks for that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rusty.
This was fun. Thank you.
All right. Well, that will do it for this edition of the Intersection podcast that's sponsored by Anterix and Belden. Thanks for listening. I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast. Be on the lookout for these monthly future episodes. I look forward to seeing you next time.
In the dynamic world of private LTE networks for utilities, it's all about a collective approach toward grid modernization solutions. Together with our 100-plus member ecosystem and the Utility Strategic Advisory Board, we're de-risking private LTE investments. We're not just providing solutions, we're pioneering a cleaner, safer, more affordable, and secure energy future through 900 megahertz powered private LTE networks. By joining us, you're part of a force driving innovation, accelerating returns, and future-proofing the entire ecosystem. It's more than spectrum. It's about evolving together. Don't miss out. Embrace the power of collective action, ensuring a sustainable utility private LTE evolution.
To learn more, visit Anterix.com.
If you could predict a failure before it happened, wouldn't you? With Belden's network infrastructure, asset health data flows from the field to your control center in real time. That's smarter maintenance, fewer outages, and better grid reliability without adding complexity. Get proactive with Belden at to.belden.com/energy. Belden, your partner in power.